Welcome, Climate Viewers. It's Jim Lee from Climate Viewer News. NOAA got a go-ahead from Congress to study geoengineering. Couldn't be more outraged. Going to talk about the funding, $4 million to study solar radiation management and marine cloud brightening. It's been a little while since I've done a video. Let's dig right in. All right, let me get this over here, and we're going to pop right over. Let's get me out of the way. And U.S. government has approved funds for geoengineering research, MIT Technology Review. NOAA will get at least $4 million for a research program, which includes efforts to assess climate interventions. Now, this was originally published December 20th, 2019. And then we go over here. This is from January 23rd, 2020. NOAA gets go-ahead to study controversial Climate Plan B. Government climate scientists will study two geoengineering proposals to counteract global warming. This is really outrageous stuff to me. I know it will be to a lot of my audience because we all know how bad geoengineering is. And now that they're giving them, did I give Rex my email? My email is jim@climateviewer.com. I'm just looking at the chat over there. Welcome everybody in chat. No, I haven't looked at my Facebook. I've been seriously busy working on my website. I'm combining weathermodificationhistory.com, climateviewer.org, and climateviewer.com together. It is freaking amazing looking already. But regardless, let's get back to this. Top climate change scientist for NOAA said he has received $4 million from Congress and permission from his agency to study two emergency and controversial methods to cool the Earth if the U.S. and other nations fail to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions. David Fahey, director of the Chemical Sciences Division of NOAA's Earth System Research Lab, ESRL, told his staff yesterday that the federal government is ready to examine the science behind geoengineering, or what he dubbed Plan B for climate change. He has received backing to explore two approaches. One is to inject sulfur dioxide or similar aerosol into the stratosphere and help shade the Earth from more intense sunlight. It is patterned after a natural solution, volcanic eruptions, which have been found to cool the Earth by emitting huge clouds of sulfur dioxide. The second approach would use an aerosol of sea salt particles to improve the ability of low-flying clouds over the ocean to act as a shade. This technique is borrowed from ship tracks, or long clouds left by the passage of ocean freighters that are seen by satellites as reflective pathways. They could be widened by injections of vapor from seawater by specialized ships to create shading effects. Research in both techniques, Fahey emphasized, are recommended in forthcoming study by the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine titled Climate Intervention Strategies That Reflect Sunlight to Cool the Earth. And it goes on, to talk about the moral hazards and all of that. But they've, changed the nomenclature from geoengineering to climate intervention. My last video was now how they've moved from climate engineering to climate intervention to now climate restoration. You're going to start seeing that a lot in many of the publications. So if you see the words climate restoration, know that they're more than likely talking about geoengineering. They keep changing the framing of all of this because God forbid you figure out what's going on. So where did this all come about? This is the actual national authorization. What does it say here? HR 1158. And here's where they actually got the money, and you can see right here on page 17. Earth's radiation budget in lieu of House language regarding Earth's radiation budget. The agreement provides no less than $4 million for modeling, assessments, and, as possible, initial observations and monitoring of stratospheric conditions in Earth's radiation budget, including the impact of the introduction of material into the stratosphere from changes in natural systems, increased air and space traffic, proposals to inject material to affect climate, like David Key's ScopeX program, and assessment of solar climate interventions, like David Key's ScopeX program. With these funds, the agreement further directs OAR to improve the understanding of the impact of atmospheric aerosols on radiative forcing, as well as on the formation of clouds and precipitation and extreme weather. So there it is, black and white, federal government, Congress authorizing NOAA to go ahead and start studying geoengineering. So we move over here. It gets a little weirder. All right, so we talked about the two types of technologies. One's called marine cloud brightening, and as you can see in the picture up here at the top, these are ship tracks. That's what they're referring to. And this is an image from 2009. You can see images like this on Climate Viewer 3D. By going to the satellite section, you can see these ship tracks over the Pacific Ocean all the time. Ship tracks are a lot like contrails, chemtrails, plane farts, whatever you want to call them, but the cirrus clouds created by planes, except they are much, 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 much larger. So that's what they're talking about, is whitening the ocean by injecting sea salt. So this was originally called the Silver Lining Project, and wouldn't you know, I looked into it, and right here on silverlining.ngo, apparently they revived their website and now have an actual live website again. The Silver Lining Project was where all this started. They're proposing something called the Atmospheric Climate Intervention Research Act. And you can look into that. If you go to their front page, you can see, ensuring a safe climate and all of this stuff. And you can see the bill for that right here, which is proposed by Representative Jerry McNerney from Democrat from California, introduced into the House 12/19/2019. And right now it's just an introduction. It hasn't passed or anything like that, but you can see all of the information on that here. HR 5519 for those that want to play along at home, passes along. So they're trying to further it even beyond what they've already authorized in the big spending bill. Republicans and Democrats rarely agree on anything except for when it comes to spending our money. So they always find a way to spend our money, and in this case, they're going to spend at least $4 million of that on studying ways to screw up the whole planet. Oh yeah, save us from global warming. Gotta love that. So if you go to my website on climateviewer.com, you'll see that back in 2013, I published an article called The Silver Lining Project, Cloud Making Boats, Ocean Pumps. Appreciate you subscribing. Love you, mean it. The Silver Lining Project, Cloud Making Boats, Ocean Pumps to Halt Hurricanes. This is now known as the Marine Cloud Brightening Project, but it was originally called the Silver Lining Project. These are what the boats look like. They were designed by a guy named John Latham, and they basically suck ocean water and then they blow it up into the cloud. So these are autonomous robots. They want to put thousands of them out into the ocean. They also want to use them to affect hurricanes, but that's a story for a whole nother time. We're not going to get into that today. But anyway, this is from a BBC video called Anti-Global Warming Clouds, BBC Science. They copyright strike my copy version of it, so I just went ahead and put the original up here. And then this is actually a science thing from the Weather Modification Conference, but regardless, from the original deleted silverliningproj.org, which was the website that they originally had this on, I pulled all of this information, and what you can see is this research is currently undertaken by the distinguished scientists and engineers at Manchester University, Leeds University, NCAR, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, Purdue University, University of Washington, University of Edinburgh, and it gives an address and all that in San Francisco, California, with some phone numbers. This has been deleted from the internet, so it's not there anymore. Mock-up picture of their boat, and, links to other videos about that and some science. Bill Gates cloud whitening trials, dangerous experiment. Bill Gates funds cloud factory. Lots of links on here. Weakening hurricanes via marine cloud brightening, MCB, silver lining boats, link and PDF. Stephen Salter talks about the pros and cons of the silver lining method. They renamed all of this, but when you go over here to who we are on Silver Lining Project, wouldn't you know, you go look into it and you've got Silver Lining obviously here, but you've got people like Colorado State University, the UN Foundation. Oh, and wait, there it is, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. So this is not a coincidence. I went to bring up the Marine Cloud Brightening's website. It's mcbproject.org. Wouldn't you know that it's down right now? But of course, as all things I do, I make sure there's a copy on archive.org. I make several backups of everything I do on archive.org, so you can see it right here. This is the Marine Cloud Brightening Project website, and it's an open collaboration for field research on the effect of aerosols particles on clouds and temperature and climate. And they show who all's involved in this: Palo Alto Research Center, and wouldn't you know it, right there in the middle, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. And just to be clear, the largest funder of geoengineering science is the National Science Foundation. If we go to climateviewer.com and we go up here and we click on geoengineering, and you'll see my page, Geoengineering and Weather Modification Exposed. We're going to get to this David Keith killing people part, but who's pushing geoengineering under the fact? You click that, and what you're going to see right here is an image, and this image is from a paper in 2014 called Mapping the Landscape of Climate Engineering. And in that image, what you're going to see is that the National Science Foundation is the largest funder of geoengineering right here. Then you have people like NASA, the Fund for Innovative Climate and Energy Research, FICER, that's Bill Gates, the Department of Energy, NCAR. Oh, wait, who's doing the Silver Lining Project? NCAR, that was on the original Silver Lining Project page. Royal Society goes on, Academy of Finland. These are the people, the European Commission, these are the people funding, and NOAA's way up here at the top. But this is where the money is flowing from to fund studying geoengineering. And then who are the scientists that are the most prolific, that are doing the work to further geoengineering? Ken Caldera, Alan Robach, Ben Kravitz. Ken Caldera, most people know him, especially from my channel, and David Keith. David Keith's doing the ScopeX program. These guys are pretty well known. Alan Robach, he's a fence rider. As you're going to see in a moment, he gives a lot of reasons why geoengineering is a bad idea. I'm going to get into that in just a second. But these are the people who are doing it. Olivier Boucher, he even is one of the IPCC heads. So it's kind of ironic that, he would even be included in this list of geoengineering authors. Jim Haywood did the study on contrails and how they were affecting daily temperature. But regardless, these are the people, and this is the funding of geoengineering. And now we can include the U.S. Congress in that, and NOAA. NOAA's probably got a much bigger circle today than it did in 2014 when this graph was made. But regardless, get back to it. The Marine Cloud Brightening Project, I think we've covered that. The other idea put forward is obviously solar radiation management. This is the other thing they're going to study. And as you can see, I just mentioned David Keith. He is pictured right here. And then right here is Alan Robach. And we're going to show 2 points of view real quick. Alan Robach, he says there are 27 reasons why geoengineering is a bad idea. And only 6 could he come up with that were a good idea. Yet, we're still pushing ahead with this. Yet, even though it's acknowledged that solar radiation management, solar geoengineering, solar climate engineering, solar climate intervention, this will kill people. Not to mention military use of technology. You cannot stop effects quickly. Human error during implementation. Whiter skies. You won't be able to see the stars. More sunburn. The list goes on and on. Drought in Africa and Asia. When you do SRM, just like with volcanoes, it gets wetter in the northern hemisphere and drier in the southern hemisphere. That's why it's a bad idea. But there's an even worse reason why it's a bad idea. Take it away, Mr. Keith.
The kind of program I think makes more sense to put about 1 million tons a year in, but let's say you might end up killing many tens of thousands of people a year as a direct result of that decision. I think that has moral consequences. I don't sweep it under the rug. So this is a case where I take this much differently from Alan and think it's a much more serious issue. Now, it's true that as part of doing that, you would hope that the overall benefits of human mortality would be so that you would save many, many more people than that. But the fact that you would save more people than you killed doesn't mean there's no moral impact of making a decision that directly kills people. And this is a really important moral point. So if I made a decision, or if there was a collective decision to do a geoengineering program, and you put, say, the kind of program I think makes more sense to put about 1 million tons a year in, but let's say, you might end up killing many tens of thousands of people a year as a direct result of that decision. I think that has moral consequences.
And I think it has moral consequences as too. And that's why I have dedicated the last 10 years of my life to trying to put a stop to this sort of thing. Interestingly enough, if you go over to climateviewer.com, UN geoengineering governance blocked by US and Saudi Arabia. This is where I have a whole lot of links on this information, Council on Foreign Relationships, how we got to where we are. CIA concerned about rogue geoengineering, but that 27 reasons why geoengineering is a bad idea, and this is a whole lot of stuff here. Accidental geoengineering with ship tracks and contrails. But down here at the bottom, there's David Keith's sun dimming experiment ScopeX. You can read all about that. Geoengineering will kill people. Link to the video I just showed you. I'll drop this link in chat for everybody playing along at home. Let's see if I can actually. Okay, I haven't actually ever logged in on my my thing. So let's see if it'll actually let me. There we go. We'll just do that. Boom, that works for me. All right. So back here, check that link out. And down here at the bottom is the stratospheric sulfur geoengineering benefits and risks. Alan Robach, where that picture comes from, and you can see the video on my YouTube right here. And it's a pretty good video.
They've asked me to give sort of an overview of geoengineering.
Show you this real quick.
I'm going to here's our that's gotten the most attention, which is what Yaga talked about also. So I went to the first meeting on geoengineering at NASA Ames, and this issue of Rolling Stone came out that week, and across the top. It's got our two favorite people there, but across the top, Dr. Evil's plan to stop global warming. And inside there was an article about Lowell Wood, who used to work with Edward Teller, saying, oh, we can control the climate. I'm a physicist. I'm smart. I know what to do. And I went to this meeting for 2 days at NASA Ames, and the room was too hot, and they couldn't control the temperature of the room, but they were talking about controlling the temperature of the planet. And there was these physicists and engineers thought, oh, this is a really cool problem. I started writing down reasons why I thought maybe it wasn't such a good idea. And I got up to 20, and I published a paper, 20 Reasons Why Geoengineering May Be a Bad Idea. And since then, I've looked at it more, and my latest paper has this list of 27 reasons for concern or risks.
So let's just recap. That's Alan Robach. Now, when he came out with that 20 reasons, in 2012, I got on Ken Caldera's geoengineering group. Alan Robach's a member of it, and I kept pushing this whole idea about, the military use of the technology. They'd have none of it. Ken Caldera even went so far as to say that's not possible. Since then, even Alan Robach got the call from the CIA worried about geoengineering. He's changed his tune, and in 2018, when I was at the weather modification conference and saw Alan Robach in the hallway while interviewing Dr. Jim Fleming, he was giving this speech, which I missed, which I deeply regret because I really wanted to interview him. He literally was coming out of giving his presentation as I was interviewing my hero, Dr. Jim Fleming, the world's top historian on weather modification. But regardless, he's changed his tune and now agrees that, yes, military use of geoengineering technologies, big freaking deal. And the fact that it's going to kill people. He's now gone to 27 reasons, up from 20 in 2008. But I find it hilarious when he says that, he's talking to Lowell Wood, Lawrence Livermore National Lab. You can read that Can Dr. Evil Save the World article on climateviewer.com. It's been deleted from Rolling Stones at the request of Jeff Goodall, who wrote it. But I have a backup of it. So you can actually still read Can Dr. Evil Save the World, a geoengineering tale, on climateviewer.com. But I find it hilarious that he, admits to that, basically they were they were talking about controlling the entire world's climate, but couldn't even control the temperature of the room they were in. I mean, that's just priceless.
NASA Ames, and the room was too hot, and they couldn't control the temperature of the room, but they were talking about controlling the temperature of the planet.
And that pretty much tells you all you need to know about geoengineering. If you want to know more about the history of geoengineering and how it and weather modification and how that can all be weaponized, please check out Geoengineering, Weather Modification, and Weaponizing Nature. I'll drop that in chat for everybody as well. And finally, when you go to this, there's a video. You can actually watch me. I'm on stage with G. Edward Griffin at
climateviewer.com, and I create apps for activists on climateviewer.org. I want to thank Mr. Griffin for allowing me this opportunity to speak.
Don't touch my microphone. That's my microphone.
For giving me this opportunity to speak, and thank my wife for all the support over the last 5 years. It would not be possible without that. Okay, so geoengineering, weather modification, and weaponizing nature. Now this.
So check this presentation out. It's 42 minutes. It was at the forum Global Warming and Inconvenient Lie. I was the only person on stage who did not have a PhD. Everybody else there did. Kind of felt out of my place. Like $350 a ticket, but regardless, you can actually go through the PowerPoint slides yourself and see everything about it. And like I said right here, when I did this, weathermodificationhistory.com coming soon. I had not even created that website when I did this presentation. But regardless, if you flip through this, you're going to see 100 years worth of weather modification, geoengineering. It's going to take you through the entire history all the way up to today. And it's going to blow your mind. There are more references in here than you can shake a stick at. How they've, cloud seeding is big business. Even travel companies will guarantee you a sunny wedding day for 100,000 euros. Weather modification projects worldwide, controlling hurricanes. Those are the guys controlling hurricanes. By the way, that's John Latham, the cloud seeder guy. Silver Lining Project, Marine Cloud Brightening Project guy right there. But regardless, take a look at this presentation. It's one of the most thorough I've ever done. It goes through everything from cloud seeding to HARP to geoengineering. And, what we're talking about here is, basically a sunscreen for the planet. It will kill people. It is a bad idea. But nonetheless, NOAA now has $4 million to play with, and they're going to do it anyway. And there's all the different terminology, and you can see the Google Scholar search results for it. And like I said, this all comes from Dr. Evil himself, Lowell Wood, at Lawrence Livermore National Labs. These are the 3 papers they published, followed by Nobel Prize winner Paul Crutzen saying, hey, what they're talking about is a good idea and it's off to the races. Bill Gates funding everything with Pfizer, and there's Ken Caldera, Alan Robach, Ben Kravitz, and David Keith. And I call them lobbyists. Boy, David Keith had a nice little jab back at me when I proposed the Environmental Modification Accountability Act. Basically, I went to the Weather Modification Conference in 2018 to get the support of geoengineers and cloud seeding scientists to end, as it says, an act to end atmospheric experimentation without notification, to give NMOD the weather warfare ban of 1978 teeth. This is my goal. This is what, the culmination of all my research and how I hope to save the world from geoengineering, weaponized weather, and bring accountability and transparency to the weather modification industry. Because without transparency and verification, we don't know whether God did it, whether climate change did it, or whether it was intentionally nefarious. So that's what I'm proposing here. You can watch. Also, I have a presentation on this, and it basically shows you how it works. Require notice up front with a public registry. Catch bad guys, no fear. That's you. ClimateViewer.com/ENMOD if you want to support that. And like I said, I've already gained some support. And as Dr. James Roger Fleming, he said there's a real important role that I can play with this NMOD thing. Dr. David Keith even said, I think that the public notice makes sense because I think transparency is very important for building trust. I think 48 hours is much too short a period. I think a longer period makes sense to enable public comments on experiments. He's talking specifically about geoengineering more than weather modification. Cloud seeding happens on a much shorter time scale. And of course, that would all have to be worked out legally before we get this thing passed. But regardless, tell us before you screw with the weather. That way, if you screw up the weather and you kill people, we can at least take your ass to court. That's the gist of this. Obviously, one challenge is to define what constitutes an experiment. Most sensor networks already have public data access. Happy to lobby for more access. Yours, David Keith. So he obviously saw my presentation where I called him a lobbyist and, just had to get that lobby word in there. I thought that was kind of funny on his part. Maybe I'll get an interview with David Keith at some point in the future. Even Ken Caldera himself said that he agrees that, that this isn't a bad idea. So there you go. I've already got support of the two most prominent geoengineers on the planet saying we would agree to this because we need to be honest and transparent about this. So I think that I've found a happy medium where everybody will be equally upset, but we can actually get something done with this. So I hope that you guys have found this video informative. I do apologize for the long delay in my video. I think the last one I made was the 31st, New Year's Eve. And I've been very busy working on a documentary, which I can't talk about yet. Can't wait to tell you about that and who all's involved in that, because that's going to blow your freaking mind. But I'm heavily busy working on climateviewer.com, climateviewer.org, and weathermodificationhistory.com, rolling them all into one. It's a massive undertaking. I've already got everything from weathermodification.com built into climateviewer.com. I'm now adding the maps into climateviewer.com, and then everything will be in one spot, and you're going to love the new format. It's much simpler to navigate. It'll make it easier to share with other people, and I won't have to say 3 damn websites every time I'm on the radio or talking or doing events and everything like that. Everything in one spot. Very easy to navigate, takes you step by step from I don't know anything about this topic all the way to becoming an expert like myself. So I hope that this will make it much easier for people to digest, to share, and to learn from, so that we can get this Environmental Modification Accountability Act passed. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the subscribe button, youtube.com. Type in Jim Lee or just Climate Viewer. You can find both of my channels. I will in the near future be switching to my Climate Viewer channel. It is youtube.com/user/Climate Viewer. youtube.com/user/Climate Viewer. So you might want to go ahead and subscribe over there if you haven't, because at some point I will be switching over and doing live streams there with the occasional rant coming over here. At least for a short little while, I intend on probably mirroring the content on both channels, but there's going to be a new format for my videos, so look forward to that. And if you can support my work by giving a monthly donation on Patreon, I greatly appreciate that. Or you can give a one-time donation on PayPal or GoFundMe. Heads up on the Patreon, I'm making changes to that in the near future, and I have a whole bunch of interviews lined up. What I intend to be doing in the near future is I'm going to be giving, let's say, 10 minutes worth of the interview during my regular show, and then for my Patreons, they will be able to view the entire unedited interviews that I do. And some of these interviews may go an hour or two. And that will be Patreon only content, because I think that there's a benefit for I haven't really given anything special to my Patreons, and I want to make sure that the people that are really supporting this channel have something that, visceral, that they get, that's special. So that's something I'm going to do. Steve Mercer, I appreciate you, brother, man. Thank you very much, man. So look forward to changes in the Patreon setup, and what the benefits are. I'm going to introduce a $5 category as well, where you can submit questions that you want answered directly. I'm going to call it the mailbag. So you'll be able to directly ask questions and then have me answer them live on the channel, as opposed to me just seeing a flood of questions in the chat that there's no way I could possibly keep doing the show while reading the entire chat. I may switch to a Premiere style where I go ahead and pre-do everything on the website or on the video. That way I can just be in chat at least one day a week. But in the near future, my plan is to start out making 2 videos a week, and we're going to work our way up to doing 5 videos Monday through Friday. That's coming very soon. So especially the minute the website's done, expect that we will be doing 5-day-a-week shows. But for now, from this point going forward, I want to try to hit at least 2 videos a week. So look forward to those. And of course, you need to be subscribed here, because I'm not going to share these live videos out until I'm done. And that's the way it's going to work. So I appreciate everybody who's tuned in. Kathleen, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you to everybody who's supported me for the last 10 years. Here's looking to 10 years more. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get simpler. I really appreciate everybody who's supported me and continues to support me. Love you, mean it, like Deadpool will be saying over there. So everybody, now knowing is half the battle. Take this information, spread it far and wide. Sharing is caring. Leave me a comment below. What do you think about NOAA studying geoengineering? What do you think about the Accountability Act? What can I make better about it? What don't you like about it? Leave a comment, under this video. Share it to your friends and family. Donate if you can. I understand if you can't. That's why this content's free. It always will be free. And, more than anything, with information comes power. With power comes great responsibility. So please remember to attack ideas, not people. Love you, mean it. If this video resonates with you, leave me a comment, because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. The bell doesn't always work, so come to climateviewer.com and sign up for our newsletter. Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.
Kids are impressionable. That's why here at this station, we watch the programs and commercials your child watches carefully. He may see bad guys, but not in the role of heroes. And he'll learn that crime doesn't pay. Because your child's welfare is our concern, too. That's part of our code.
Better than anything you can get without a prescription. Anything. It's the best.